Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? You know, the holidays are upon us. So this episode, I will be talking about basic food preparation techniques. Everybody usually becomes a cook during the holidays. You know, you might not have the time to cook the rest of the year, but usually everybody that I know will try their hand at some recipe during the holidays. So I want to just give you some ideas of basic food preparation techniques, really simple things. And also I'm going to share my recipe. It's a great recipe for the holidays, a really easy appetizer. I call it avocado goes to Parma because it's a sort of a version of a guacamole, but it's got Parmigiano Reggiano in it. So, but it's very easy, very flavorful, very tasty, a really quick appetizer that you can make during the holidays. So I'll be giving that recipe. And my special guest for this episode it's actually going to be a repeat of an interview that I did earlier this year. It's Nichole Marchetti, and she's a chef, specializes in gluten-free cooking. And I thought it'd be great to have her on since during the holidays also a lot of us need to cook gluten-free. So Nichole's going to share some tips also. And just a shout out to all those veterans who put their life on the line for us in the United States of America. Thank you so much. It's Veterans Day this week, so just a shout out and a thank you to the veterans. We do appreciate you and love you so much. Thank you so much for all you've done. So as mentioned, I wanted to share some basic food preparation techniques, especially since we have holidays coming up and everybody's got their hands in the kitchen wanting to try all these recipes that are out there. Food preparation can seem like a big, overwhelming process. There's many foods to choose from, proper ways to store them, and cooking techniques and seasonings to make them all taste great. While food preparation can come with complexity, it doesn't have to. All you need to know is a few basic principles. So here they are. Elements of flavor. There are 5 different tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Elements of flavor are essential to enhancing these different tastes. These elements are salt, fat, acid, and heat. Salt is a great flavor enhancer. You can use a small amount to bring out sweetness or more to bring out umami, which is savory flavors. Fats like oils can add to the flavor and texture of the meal. Acid like lemon or vinegar helps to balance out flavors and lightens the palate. Acid also can help to tenderize meats. Heat is the process of cooking food. Applying heat makes chemical changes that are necessary for a great dish. Food safety is also something to take in consideration because contaminated food can make you sick, and that's nothing that you want to occur during the holidays. So you don't want that to occur any time of the year, but especially during the holidays. To prevent this, follow the food safety principles, which are clean, separate, chill, and cook. Clean means to wash your hands often and wash all surfaces thoroughly. You should separate raw foods from ready-to-eat foods, such as to prevent contamination. Food needs to be chilled to prevent bacteria from growing. Food should be cooked to proper temperatures to kill any bacteria. You can apply critical control points to ensure that your food is safe. These are steps taken to prevent the contamination of food, such as storing the raw chicken in the refrigerator. Critical control point is often used in the restaurant industry to prevent food contamination. And here are some basic food preparation techniques or info on that for you. So there's different food preparation techniques that you need to know. There is baking, which is a process in which dry heat is applied to the food, often used for pastries and breads. There is frying, which involves cooking in fat, and that includes stir fry and saute. There is roasting, which is baking at a high heat, and that dries the food more than regular baking. Other food preparation techniques include grilling, steaming, poaching, simmering, broiling, blanching, braising, and stewing. Food preparation does not need to be complex. Knowing the basic food principles can help to remove some of the complexity. These principles help you to cook safely and help you have great tasting food. And you can find this article on my blog at marialiberati.com. And here's my recipe for an easy appetizer to make during the holidays. You can really make it any time of the year because who doesn't love a great avocado dip? And you can use this as a dip for, tortilla chips or pita chips. You can even do some type of bruschetta or toast with this dip or use it as a spread. I call it an avocado goes to Parma. So this dip, the ingredients are 2 ripe avocados, the juice of 1 lemon, 4 tablespoons of grated Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, 1 tablespoon of chopped fresh basil, 3 tablespoons of chopped sun-dried tomatoes packed in extra virgin olive oil and drained. Mash the avocado, add in all the other ingredients. If you're taking this spread with you to somebody else's house, if you have a get together, you need to place this in a container and first place plastic wrap against the surface of the avocado spread before you close the container so it doesn't get brown. Then close up the container. And as mentioned, you can use this as a dip for breadsticks. Also cut vegetables if you want to keep it healthy because it's a really healthy dip. Tortilla chips, pita chips, you can use it as a spread. You can do a bruschetta, use this as a spread. Or one of my favorite things to do is to use this as a spread for a sandwich. So if I have something left over and I'm just making a leftover sandwich or panini, I put some of this as a spread. Enjoy.
Hey, I'm here with Chef Nichole Marchetti, and she was formerly a contestant on Chopped. She also has celiac disease, so she's shared with us some great tips and recipes. And she's also going to share with us some info on some charities. She's doing some really nice work with some charities. She's going to share that with us. She's just got a whole bunch of stuff to share with us today. Nichole, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Nichole, why don't you just tell us, I know people always like to hear your background and how you got into being a chef.
Oh, for sure. Yep. So I like to say my story started very young. When I was 10 years old, I was making the toast at my mother's work. She was a waitress on the weekends. She helped out. So I helped out on the weekends and I would make toast. So that's kind of where I started in the kitchen. Was 10 years old, making $20 a day, which was pretty cool. And then, I moved up. As I went along, I did food running, I did busing, I did serving tables, and then I finally got into the kitchen. So that kind of is where it started. My father was always very big on family meals, making sure that we always sat down and we ate together. Saturday nights were like his night. He would always make steak and or I call it his famous potatoes. I don't know how he does it. I still cannot replicate his potatoes to this day. Although I try very hard. I can never make them taste like he does. So really it just started at a young age and just loving food and just getting into it, hands first.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So tell us, before we get into celiac and all, tell us, because I know everybody always wants to hear. I know you told us you were on Chopped back in 2013. Is that right?
Yes. So I appeared on food. Yeah. I appeared on Chopped in 2013. It actually filmed in 2012, December of 2012, and then it aired June of 2013. So it's a very long day. If anyone ever says anything about Chow, it's a very long day. It starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we were there until about 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Oh my gosh. So
yes,
people think it's fun to be on Chopped. It's fun, but really hard work.
it's a very long, like I said, it's a very long day.
Well, that's great. And thanks for sharing that with everybody so they know what it's really like.
Yeah.
So I know, Nichole, you have celiac disease, so I know you have to be aware of eating free, I guess, and all of that. So I'm sure you have some tips and or recipes too you can share with my listeners for Celiac Awareness Month.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of gluten-free oats. I love oats. I love oatmeal. I love baking with it. I love cooking with it. So like my one big thing, because I'm also very into making not so healthy food healthier in a way. So my big thing that I like to do is I always like to grind down oats and use that kind of as like the breadcrumb for, say, like a turkey meatball or a chicken meatball. I'm at work, so you have to excuse my coworker.
That's okay.
Grinding that down. So actually last night I actually made turkey meatballs for my family. And what I do is I take ground turkey and I grind up oats and I use that as the binder in it, along with some egg, and then your traditional like Italian seasonings and all that other fun stuff, Parmesan cheese. That's one of my big things. I've coated chicken for my daughter. So I have two kids. I have a son and I have a daughter. So my daughter absolutely loves chicken nuggets. So I'm always trying to reinvent the wheel with it for her. I'll do like an oat crust on a ground chicken nugget that I make in house. So that's great if you have kids. That's a great one to do.
Yes.
Another great gluten-free recipe that I love. It kind of goes in a completely opposite direction, but I'm a big fan of shakshuka. And shakshuka is a tomato-based dish with peppers and onions and cracked eggs. And then you kind of cook it in a heavy bottomed pan, almost like a cast iron.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite. It's a super healthy breakfast. And even my daughter will eat it. My daughter's 3, so she's picky. And even she'll eat it. Yeah. So it's very tasty. We'll put some feta cheese on it. And then I'll just use like a toast or a cracker. I'm still kind of perfecting gluten-free naan. So it's at a point now where I'm still kind of working on it. I'm not 100% the biggest baker in the world, but we're working on it. I can bake a lot of regular stuff with regular flour, but you know, the gluten-free side of it tends to be a little bit tricky some days.
It is. I know I've even tried baking with, the gluten-free stuff, and you're absolutely right. I think it's a trial and error process, right? Because it doesn't behave like the normal, flour, baking powder, and all that we're so used to cooking with. So it's kind of like a trial and error thing. So I hear you definitely. So any kind of like sweet things you can tell people like that could be gluten-free?
So the easiest thing that I find that is made gluten-free that's sweet is it like a banana bread or a zucchini bread, something that already has a lot of natural moisture in it.
Exactly.
Okay. So the one that I use, well, before we get into the actual recipe for banana bread, the different types of gluten-free flours, there's a lot of good ones out there and there's a lot of bad ones out there. One that I'm not 100% dead set I love to use is the Bob's Red Mill gluten-free flour. It kind of leaves a little bit of an aftertaste. The two that I really like is King Arthur flour makes a gluten-free flour. That's like an all-purpose flour. That one's really good. And then Cup for Cup, which is actually a side business or a Bouchon Bakery, which is Thomas Keller's restaurant, the French Laundry. Bouchon Bakery puts out Cup for Cup, which is also another really, really great 1-to-1 ratio for flour to gluten-free flour. So if I ever bake anything, it's with either of those two flours.
Yeah, and I think don't you find too that the type of flour you use, because I've had some good results with the King Arthur gluten-free flour.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite.
I just did a coffee cake. It was real. Everybody just loved it. And it was gluten-free with the King Arthur. gluten-free
Yep.
flour, because I had a guest that was coming over that had to eat gluten-free. So I'm like, what can I make that everybody will like? But the cup with the cup for cup, that sounds great also.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Those are great.
but I think flour is the key also. But yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
So out of everything, those are the two that I always recommend, especially if you're not used to mixing your own flours,
Mhm.
because you can get heavily into buying a whole bunch of different types of flours and then mixing your own,
Yeah.
depending on what you need. But if you just want a regular all-purpose flour, those are the two that I always highly recommend.
Yeah.
They're just super easy to work with.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of the times, those two flours are the ones where I can take a normal recipe or a recipe that just has regular wheat flour in it,
Right.
and then just toot out either one of those flours and it comes out fine.
Okay.
So there's no like, oh, well, it didn't rise or it didn't do this, it didn't do that. They work very well. Anyway, so this is my gluten-free banana bread recipe. So I take 2 cups of all-purpose gluten-free flour. Like I said, either the King Arthur or the Measure for Measure.
Yeah.
1 teaspoon of baking soda,
Yeah.
a quarter teaspoon of salt, a half a cup of unsalted butter,
Uh-huh.
3/4 of a cup packed light brown sugar,
Uh-huh.
2 large eggs, a third of a cup of yogurt, 2 cups of mashed bananas, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So what I'll do is I'll cream together the butter and the sugar,
Right.
and then I'll put all my dry ingredients, so my flour, my leavening agents, the baking soda, the salt.
Yeah.
If you want to throw some cinnamon in it, you throw some cinnamon in it.
Uh-huh.
And then after I get done creaming my butter and my sugar together, my light brown sugar,
Yeah.
I'll add in my eggs, and then I'll add in my mashed banana, and then I'll add in my dry ingredients,
Okay.
and I'll kind of mix until it's all nice and combined.
Uh-huh.
I will put it in a loaf pan. I think the one that I have is a 9-inch loaf pan.
Uh-huh.
I spray it down first, put it into the loaf pan, and then bake at 325 for about an hour,
Uh-huh.
and it comes out great.
Yeah, that sounds really yummy. And again,
Yeah.
all these ideas, like, 'cause, a while ago, not too long ago, when if you were gluten-free, there really wasn't too many choices, right? They were terrible. Even
There was nothing.
oh my goodness, I remember pasta was like people would be making me taste this gluten-free pasta, and it was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? But now I've eaten gluten-free pasta that you almost don't even know. It's the dry pasta, so it's not. I actually there is fresh gluten-free pasta too. But
Yes.
it's like right? You almost don't know. You don't miss it really because it's really good stuff. So I
Mhm.
guess that people needed time to experiment and like we were saying, trial and error. So yes, so you don't
For
really
sure, there's definitely differences in the pastas too.
uh-huh.
So for instance, like a more rice-based pasta
Uh-huh.
is going to fall apart on you a lot quicker. But if you have more of a corn-based pasta, it's going to hold its shape. So like Berea Ronzoni makes a corn-based pasta,
Uh-huh.
and I know there's another couple out there.
I've seen a few others out there. I've
Yeah,
tried
like if you go to like an Italian specialty store, they have like it's right on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember the name of the pasta.
uh-huh.
But the corn-based ones are going to hold up a lot better.
Exactly. Yes, they do. I noticed that you're absolutely right. When I first started experimenting with gluten-free pasta, I would have some that would just come out like mushy, like it was like polenta,
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh. So, but you're absolutely right. The corn ones do hold up a whole lot better.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, people, thank goodness if people, they don't have to suffer, they can, still enjoy eating well with a lot of these tips. So any other last minute tips for people with, who have to be gluten-free aware?
Oh, wow. Yes, a lot. One, don't lick the envelope. Did you know that there's gluten in the glue strip of envelopes?
No. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Wow. Wow. So
Yeah.
there you go. That's a tip. So, you could be not feeling well and you could have done something right like that and you didn't even realize what you did.
Yeah, I make my husband do it because I don't.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Wow.
What else? If you're ever using anything that's like yeast risen,
Uh-huh.
you always have to add a little bit more yeast. Like I'm still trying to perfect a soft pretzel recipe because I can't get my yeast right. Um,
Oh,
but anything that's risen like that, I always add in a little bit more because
yes.
gluten-free flour is a lot heavier than
Yes.
regular flour.
Yes.
So it's not going to rise all the way that you want it to.
Right.
So you put in a little bit of extra yeast, and it should turn out a little bit better. And I'm also trying to work on another recipe where I can like actually braid the bread or like work with it.
Oh,
That's
yes.
another work in progress.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah,
Oh,
we're
that
getting
sounds interesting. Yeah, it's all, and it's worth it too, because then you'll come out with some other good, really other delicious recipes. Nichole, lastly, I know you told me that you're involved with some charities and some charity work. Tell us, it sounded so nice, these dinners you're doing. I wanted to let people know about them.
Yeah, for sure. So in the area that I live, we have Hospice of Lancaster, who obviously deals with hospice patients and also hospice children, which they do a lot of community work for. And then I also do charity work for Hope in the Air. And they do their charity events and charity galas the last couple of years. They benefited the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia with their service dog training program. Just funding that and getting service dogs in there for those kids, because that's a way of healing too. So what they do is they auction off a 5-course dinner paired with wine that I create for them, and I'll actually go into their houses. Last year I didn't do any because of COVID, but this year we're finally starting to be okay, and I'm starting to feel okay with it too, going into people's houses and getting, doing the 5 courses. So it starts out, with your amuse, which is just kind of thing to get your palate going. And then we go into a salad course, an appetizer course, an entree, and a dessert course. And each one of those courses is paired with a different wine that I get to go out and get for them. And I get to create this dinner for them. And it's great. It's so much fun.
You actually go to their house too, isn't that what you said? You go and you do the dinner, like you're there and you sing it. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I do everything. I bring everything to their house and we do it there. Yep.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And it's so nice that it helps. It helps an organization too that they really need it, especially now after this year and whatever, a half, I guess, or something that we had. So that's really nice. Nichole, thank you so much. I'm sure I'll be asking you to come back, and we'll have you.
Well, thank you very much. I would love to.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much for being here and sharing those tips. And everybody, do you have a website or anything to tell people to look for? Or
I have an Instagram.
There you go. Well, that's fine. So do you want to tell everybody how to find you on Instagram?
Yeah, sure. It's just at Nikki. So my maiden name is Mummolo. Nikki Mummolo. So it's NikiMummolo for Instagram. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks, Nichole. So everybody, you can find her on Instagram. All right. We'll be talking to you. Thanks, Nichole. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us and listening to the Maria Liberati Show this week. And also special thanks to my guest, Nichole Marchetti. As always, my producer, Britton Roselle. And again, special thanks to all those veterans out there for all you've done and all you're doing. And a happy Veterans Day to everyone. And you can find me at marialiberati.com. You can find my book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, at artoflivingprimamedia.com. You can find the book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, anywhere you find books online. You can also find me on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on LinkedIn at M Liberati, and let's see, on my Roku channel, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati. And don't forget, place a review on any of the podcast sites. Take a screenshot of that, share it on social media, hashtag The Maria Liberati Show, and you'll be entered in a giveaway drawing to get a copy of one of my books from the book series. It won the Gourmand World Awards in Paris in 2010. Please share a review and you'll be entered in a giveaway to win a copy of one of the books from my book series. And also, if you create that appetizer that I gave, the recipe I gave in today's show, please take a picture, share it with our listeners. We're going to be putting up photos on the website. You know, there's a new website, the marialiberati.show.com. We're going to be putting up some photos that my listeners are sharing of recipes that you've created from the show. So please share a recipe photo with us. And if you have any tweaks or any additions or changes you want to make to the recipe, share that with us too. We'd love to see that. And also, you can find me again at marialiberati.com. And until next week, this is Maria Liberati. Remember, the question that we ponder every week is, what does food mean to you? So share your answers to that also, and hashtag the Maria Liberati Show on social media, and we'll be sharing some of those answers in upcoming episodes. Well, until next week and until next time, peace, love, and pasta.